Hi guys, right, the leather is now cut out. My son's just decided that he wanted to, my 2-year-old's just decided that he wanted to drown my workshop, so I have to sort that out. It's all cut out as accurate as you can. The most important bit with these type of sheaths is making sure with your measurements that everything is going to be lined up down your edges as neat as you possibly can. Really, you don't want to be messing about too much after this point. So when you cut stuff out, try and cut it as neat and as close as possible. This is where these rulers help, because they give you a lovely straight, 90-degree straight cut. You don't want, when you're cutting your leather, you don't want it to be at an angle, because you're just going to have to keep trimming, and you can over trim and then you'll end up having to start again. So I was going to contour this belt loop, but I've changed my mind, as you do with a lot of these type of processes. Once it's gone into leather, sometimes I'll continue with it, sometimes I won't. But I've had a good look, and I think I'm just going to leave it as it is, but I'm going to do the cutout for the retention strap. So that's what we're going to have. I'm pleased with that. I'm not going to contour it too much on the edges. It'll ruin a little bit of the integrity and the stiffness of the belt loop, because I'm not going to put the retainer up here. He did suggest it, but it just won't look right. And to be honest, once he gets my sheath and he realises the retention's as it should be, he'll realise it's not needed. The strap will be more than adequate. So what we're going to do here is we've got put a little edge grooving round here. We need to cut this hole out here for this retention strap, and we'll go from there. So back onto the leather mat, take my edge groove. I'm going to do this first. I've got to put a maker's stamp, my maker's mark on this as well yet. Okay, now when you're doing this line around here, I know roughly now what my welts are going to be, because I've marked them out. So obviously I'm not going to go right to the edge with this, because if I do, when I come to put the lines in for my stitching, it's going to run over. So what I'll do is I'll gauge roughly what I'm going to be, where I want my stitches to be, and normally 9 times out of 10 what I'll do for this is I'll go half of what my welt is, that particular welt for that particular sheath, or thereabouts, or what I think looks about right. But as a rule of thumb, you can go down that route. You don't want to be too close to the edge, because then the stitching, it's not gaining its full potential, and you don't really want to be too far in, because it'll look daft. So just looking at that, we can go just a little bit more than that, so it's less than half this time with this, because they're quite substantial welts, these. Also, you don't want to be making monstrous welts neither, and making the sheath oversized. You always want to try and keep your sheaths as compact as possible, really, within reason. There's no point in having a welt an inch and then having a little thin inch knife. You know what I mean? It's just going to look daft, and there's just no need for that. And everybody who carries anything out in the field, obviously wants to try and keep the weight down as much as possible. So it's a fine balance between getting that just right. You want enough welt so that it's doing its job for the stitching, and to make everything as it should be, but you don't want too much, it looks, and you don't want too little so that it's not doing what it should be doing, which is helping to stop you cutting the stitches as you deploy and put the knife back in its sheath. So we'll go, it's just under half, and as you can see I do like a dummy run to where it's going to be coming. I could probably just go a little bit less, a bit too close to this point, so I'm going to go a little bit less than that, just a tiny bit. Yeah, now I'm happy. Okay, there we go. That's great. Then when we come from this side, just a little bit more out, just a fraction, another mil. Sometimes that can just make that. Okay, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, that'll look quite nice. Right, so now I know roughly where that stitch line's going to be here, so I'll know roughly where to come with this. If I just gently mark, I'll just put two little, you know, you won't even see them, and when I come to put the stitch line in, my fingerprints from where I've been sweating today on this. If I was doing this like a natural colour and stuff, and he wants it left natural, I will, you know, put gloves on then. I can't think what they're called, the little the vinyl type gloves that I use, and keep everything neat, but because the dye's going on, it makes no difference. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll readjust this now to make a nice little line around here. Right, so I'll do that now. Don't seem to be at the right. I'm just going to adjust you a bit, see if I can, just a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit better, maybe. Okay, I think. Okay, sort of. Right, so we'll go round and we'll stop just short of where that stitching is going to start from. Now I'll also do a tutorial on how to sharpen all these tools as well. I'll also do that thing I said about doing your strap end punches. There's a lot really, but I'll see how I go with these as well, and you know, because they are time consuming. I'd have these things done 500 times quicker if I wasn't having to explain and think about, you know, make sure, you know, and all the rest of it. So I mean, if people are still interested in stuff, I'll still continue with the knife ones and stuff, because I could probably just put some music on, grind away and carry on with that. But with this stuff, it's more time consuming, so if people are still showing interest, or you know, I get a few views, and people, I can see that they're enjoying this and learning from this, then I'll continue with them. If not, I'll stick with the knife stuff, and obviously I'll carry on with this regardless, you know, because it's what I do. But anyway, we've put that line in, and what we'll do now is we'll use the edge. Brain's gone again. Anyway, I'm going to take this, we'll scarf off the edges. For anybody that's interested, it's a number 3 I'm using here. I'm not keen on the... I do use them. What I tend to use is... Here I use a lot. I'm using some of these as well. If you've looked on my wall, a lot of these, mine are the Joseph Dix. A lot of people tend to use these normal, but if you've, a lot of mine, if you've noticed, they're more. How can I explain? There's a groove in the middle rather than, you know, just that. It just chamfers the edge a little bit more. That's how I like my edges. Anyway. So obviously inside, when you come to do the inside, now if I was to scarve the edges off here using the edge scarver, when you come to put your welts up, you're going to have a little bit of a gap there, so you only want to scarve just the inside to your welt lines. So okay, so that's neating that up, took that bit of a pen mark off. That's why I wasn't worried about it, because I knew when Okay, let's put this back and we'll continue with these tools. These all need sharpening, so I will do a thing on these, how I sharpen these and get these tip top, because I've heard on some of the other videos that I've watched occasionally on YouTube, there's the noise of when they're using these sort of noise. It's because the tools are very blunt, not sharp. I mean, these, when you're taking these edges off, these should take the edges off like butter. I mean, there should be no effort at all. You should be able to just literally just touch it on and push it, and it'll just whip that leather off like there's no tomorrow. And it all comes into polishing your tool, making it super smooth and super sharp, and it'll just glide and everything will become so easy. Right, so that's that bit done. I've marked inside where this needs to come. We will need to pare this down, we need to scarve this down, and I'll show you how to do that and feather it in. These marks and stuff, it'll all be inside, so it's all got to be dyed. And okay, that's where we're at. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this over, I'm going to dampen it, and I'm just going to go and put my maker's mark on. So, and when dampening leather, I always find it's better to not just dampen a little bit, it's to dampen it all, because what you'll get then is watermarks, and when you come to dye sometimes that'll affect with the way the dye sits on your leather. So if you're going to put a maker's mark on, or you're going to put something on when the leather's in this state, in its natural state, it's always better to, rather than just dye that little section when I'm going to put my mark, is to dye, dampen that little bit when I'm going to put my mark, is to dampen it all. And then when it dries, it'll dry all the same, and you won't have a little watermark here. When you come to dye, sometimes that'll be highlighted. So I'll go and put the maker's mark on, and next step will be to, I think, cut the section out. I'll also need to make the retention strap. We'll go about sewing that on, show you how to do that with my pricking irons, and we'll look at the welt system. And I still don't know whether to contour this belt loop yet. I mean, I can always do it after. Anyway, so leave it there, guys. I'm going to go and put that maker's mark on, and I'll be back in a bit.